everybody. It's the magic hour. The clock's not on the wall, so we can't tell what Mickey's up to. They're painting, so that's one of the things that happen. Um, Miss Harriet's going to play for us this morning our patriotic song, but we're only going to do one verse. So if you please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Miss Linda?
Good morning. Our speaker this morning is Reverend Erin Buckner Rossiker, and some of you have already had the opportunity to meet her, but I know if you have not, you will be blessed when you take the time to track her down. She's very busy, as you can imagine. But she is the new Westminster Oaks chaplain, and she's a member of First Presbyterian Church. She married her husband Jim about 11 years ago, and they moved here from New Jersey. They have 2 children, Nick, who's 9, and Emilia, who's 7. And while working on her ordination, Erin trained at TMH just as COVID was beginning. And when she completed her training, she worked at Big Bend Hospice for a year. She enjoys spending time watching her kids grow up. She's looking forward to learning how to play pickleball and bridge.
Thank you so much, Linda. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. So next time I come, you have to put my name in a different color besides red, because I don't want to feel like I'm in trouble. No, good morning. It's great to see so many of you. I know a lot of faces. I've met with you, and I've had a chance to talk to you. If I haven't had a chance to talk to you, know that I am available to you if you need anything from me as a chaplain, or just as someone who knows what's going on sometimes. Give me a call. So I was asked today to bring to you a moment of reflection. And so I thought about it, and I thought, I have one for you, and you may not like it. So we'll see how it goes. The power of yes and the power of no. For many of us, we are go-getters. Well, that's why we're sitting in this room today, to learn something new, to be a part of our community. So we've said yes to coming to this meeting. For many of us, saying no is really hard. Some of us, it's not hard at all. That's totally true, and you know who you are if you're that person. The reason I wanted to bring those 2 ideas to you today were that as we experience our life and we look back, there are sometimes things that we realize were not as important as we thought they were in the moment. And so sometimes we have our plate full, and we don't need to have our plate as full as we do. We are 4 years and about a week from the beginning of the shutdown, the lockdown from COVID. Now, as Linda mentioned, I was at the hospital when that happened. I saw the world shift, just as we all did. I saw it from a very specific vantage point, but each of us has our own vantage point in that case, and each of us let go of things. And now we're in that process, 4 years on, of putting things back together. And we're going into spring, so there's spring fever to do more and more. I would encourage you to say no to one thing. Say no to one thing that does not give you joy And instead, I would encourage you to say yes to one thing that you've put off or you've maybe regretted you haven't done yet, so that you can enjoy that experience. Because I look at my daughter the other day, she was so mad. She's 7, Emilia. She was so mad at me because I wouldn't let her take her bike down the street and hang out with friends in somebody's house who I didn't know, because she learned how to ride her bike last month. And she was just livid that I didn't let her go and enjoy herself. And so what I want you to know is I'm giving you permission to go enjoy yourself, but let go of something that you don't find joy in anymore. So I hope you will find the power of yes and the power of no somewhere in your week this week. Go in peace. Thank you.
Ms. Darlene?
I request a motion to approve the minutes of the February 26th council meeting.
Richard, second. Julian? Any discussion by the board? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Marvin?
Okay, I have to excuse myself. I forgot to send the updated numbers to Everett, so we have old numbers up there. But then you can use them to compare. That's what. We've completed 88% of the fiscal year. Our budgeted income is $38,235. Our total income is $30,923. And the percent of our budgeted income achieved is 81%. The expenses, the budgeted expenses were $49,492. The total expenses, $15,321. And percent of budgeted expenses expended, 31%. The account information is, we have a total of $146,661. The general fund account balance is $80,413. The employee gift fund account balance is $31,018, and the savings account balance is $35,230. The March end of month report will be posted on my W Life the first week in April. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin, and you could compare and see where we were. Ms. Sandra?
Good morning. I want to start this morning by thanking you for giving your time and interest to the uniqueness of each of the new members that we've had and that we continue to have. We were all new members at one time, and these unique identities are so special, and it's what makes us special here at Westminster Oaks. And your welcoming spirit really adds to our family community here. So thank you. The first person that I want to introduce today is Bruce Butler. Bruce, would you just stand and so they can see you for a minute? Thank you. Okay, so Bruce lives at Oak South, and he grew up in Tallahassee. But he got his BA in Washington and Lee, and his master's back at FSU. He also studied Spanish in Costa Rica, and then he did some further study in the University of London, and it's at that point that he realized that he was more interested in books than he was students, and so he got into publishing, and his first publishing job was in Washington, D.C. Publishing turned into a branch of computer science, and after 12 years, Bruce took a job in Palo Alto, California. He's been back and forth and all over. He stayed on the West Coast for 10 years before semi-retiring, and this is a part I love, semi-retiring to take care of his parents back here in Florida. Today, Bruce shares a hobby business with a partner in Kansas City, and he loves to take walks and pictures whenever he can. So welcome, Bruce. I have another gentleman to introduce, but I'm not sure if he's here. I may have missed seeing him to get him up front. Fred Jangles, are you here? Oh, hi, Fred. Good. Will you turn around so they can see your face? There you are. This is Fred. Thank you, Fred. Okay, so Fred is in Oak South also. He's a native of White Plains, New York, and he went to Syracuse University for his BS in forestry and also studied journalism at Boston University. He served as a naval officer on 2 ships, one as an air intercept control officer and on another one as commander duty officer on that second ship. In Western Oregon, he spent his time as a forester, a surveyor, and land acquisition specialist. He's done a lot of things, folks. Get ready here. He's in Vermont. He was a transportation planner, and he organized and started a food co-op there in Vermont that's still thriving today. And then he also worked with his journalism throughout many years as a columnist in different media in Vermont. Fred is an active economist and environmentalist, and when his bio is published in the WOW, you'll see more information about that. He's committed to reducing his carbon footprint and combating global warming, and there's more about that. He calls himself a snowbird because he winters in Tallahassee. When he's been wintering here, he's devoted a number of years to the St. Mark's Refuge Center, and we thank him for that. He has a twin brother in Maine. I've always wanted a twin. A twin brother in Maine who's a retired professor and also founded and is interested in museums. He's also a museum director, his twin brother. So thank you and welcome, Fred. And the next couple, I think I didn't get you up front either. Jim, I got to see if I can say this right. There you are, right in front of me. You sneaked up there, didn't you? Okay. Ricino. He said, remember casino. So, Ricino. I'm not real good at this. Okay, and Ginger Duva Ricino. Stand up and say hello right there. There's Jim. Okay. So Jim was born in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and he grew up in Alexandria, Virginia. He went to high school in Palmetto High School, Miami, Florida. He went to Miami-Dade Junior College, and that's where he met Ginger, and they were married in '66. They have a son, Jeff, and a grandson, Tyler. He has a BS from the College of Business at FSU. Yay, another Noel. And was a hospitality major. He has a master's from SMU in Dallas. Okay, now he started his career as a restaurant manager in Chicago. He also initiated the Dedman Endowment for the Dedman College of Hospitality at FSU. That's a biggie. At FSU, he came here to FSU as an executive in residence at that same Dedman College. He served on numerous boards, and I'm just going to list some of them. Boosters, Alumni Association, College of Business, Dedman College Board, and a former Club Corps executive officer. That's, I think, related to country clubs. Is that right? Okay. So, and he has a lot of interests, and some of those are Blessed Sacrament Church. He's a Rotarian, woodworking. Lance will be glad to hear that. 60s music, and I found out about muscle cars. He loves muscle cars, and if you don't know what muscle cars are, rum, 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 that's what they are. And there's Ginger. Ginger was born in Miami. She graduated from Miami Edison and went to the University of South Florida. She was a property manager for their personal real estate for 38 years. They had a number of real estate properties, and that kept her busy. She's an avid reader, and there are lots of us here that are, and she likes to work out in the gym. She studied Italian for 15 plus years. She's also an amateur genealogist. Both are legacy members here. Jim's parents and Ginger's mother were here before them. We like hearing that. They like to travel, especially to Italy, and they RV around the U.S. They enjoy their beach house and Westminster Oaks. They're part-timers both places. So welcome, Jim and Ginger. Okay, so this is our last couple, and this is Roseanne Maggio, as in Joe DiMaggio. I got this one right. Okay, and Carlos Monserrati. I can't roll my R's like that. Monserrati. Okay, if you'll stand and let them see you. Roseanne and Carlos. Before moving here 25 years ago, they lived in Deltona and Sanford. Now, Carlos held a database analyst position, or several, in private industry for 10 years, in Florida state government for 20. He's a recent board member of Florida Telecommunications Relay Incorporated. And Roseanne, after 22 years in banking, holding multiple positions, came to Tallahassee to accept a position with State Farm Insurance. Carlos's profound hearing loss and his love and teaching of American Sign Language brought the two together, and I think that's beautiful. Both have since performed and magnified the art of signing to music. I think that must be beautiful to watch. Maybe they'll do that for us sometime. Carlos likes bridge, pinochle, and a new game that I didn't know about, Rummikub. And Carlos also is an artist. He paints with acrylics, and he also likes to act. He's an actor and hopes to be with the WO Players soon, right? Okay. And Roseanne says she likes simple pleasures. She likes the pinochle, the Rummikub, and walking. Both looking forward to meeting all of you and being part of the Westminster community and family. So we are thankful to have Roseanne and Carlos. Thank you again for your attention. Wait a second. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sandra, and welcome to all you new folks. We're glad to have you here to broaden the base of that it takes for us to make all these services available to everybody. Richard, third quarter update.
I'll make this very simple. We took in more than we spent. Looking at the quarterly report dated December 31st, occupancy is good. Occupancy, in fact, is high. We have 598 units occupied, 736 total residents, and all but 35 of those are on a contract. Previously, we had a far higher percentage of residents without a contract. As I say, we have a small but positive operating margin and in good entrance fee revenue. Entrance fees are 11 to 12 times the size of the refunds. People apparently are committing and staying committed. As far as the overall, the obligated group, which is our financing arm, all is well. There are long-term assets far greater than long-term liabilities. The obligated group, which is commandeered by Hank Keith, the corporate CFO, takes every opportunity to reduce our borrowing cost. So in terms of the numbers, finances, we're in good shape. I'll answer any questions if you have one. Any? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And that quarterly report's in a white binder in the main entryway up there by Miss Lillian's desk if you want to go through the numbers and take a nap. And update on the ad hoc committees. They met with the resident council at our briefing meeting earlier in the month, and they're kind of going into hibernation with the Dempsey Mayo Committee. We're waiting on the county to see what they're going to do about the crosswalk that parallels Dempsey Mayo at our front gate. They're still looking into their engineering and evaluating some of our concerns, so we're not sure what their timeline is in moving forward. So that committee is going to stay more or less in hibernation until we hear from the county as to what the next step is moving forward. A number of things are really going to hinge on when the circle or the roundabout goes in at Dempsey Mayo and Miccosukee. Sidewalk expansion, some other things may fall out from that. As you know, that's been going on for about 5 years, and so we're not holding our breath to see when that traffic circle is actually going to come in. The ad hoc committee on marketing is in fact going to take a nap for a while and wait and see what the new vice president of marketing at corporate is doing to implement the plans, at least that she sees at this point, which we think would rectify a lot of our issues. But we need to give her time to get those underway and see where they go. So they're going to take a break also. So the two committees are still there. It's just they're not going to be as active as they have been the last year because ad hoc committees by definition are temporary. And so hopefully they will run out of business in the future, which was the purpose of them to start with. Okay, Mr. Jim and Miss Sunny.
Good morning. For the moment, I am Jim Melton. Okay, so, you gotta point it at a certain object. Okay. And it is on, I'm punching it. All right, Tegan, you wanna move it forward, please? One slide. Okay, so in January, the Grounds Committee met and discussed at length the holding pond that's in the entrance of Westminster Oaks. It's to the right when you drive in. It's unsightly, unsafe, and of course not environmentally sound. So we decided to move forward with a proposal, and I gotta see what I can see. Okay, so to maintain the purpose of the holding pond was of course a priority because it's a county requirement. How do y'all see these things? Okay.
This one works.
I want you to remember I'm still Jim Melton. Now that the microphone works, I'm Sonny Phillips, okay? All right, so we have to maintain the holding pond because of it's a county holding pond. So they have an ordinance that requires a certain maintenance of it. We wanted to end the mowing and weed eating because it just erodes the side, and it's pretty unsightly. So since it's the entrance to Westminster Oaks, we would really like to improve that look. So we thought we would we'd plant grasses. There are Florida grasses that are planted on golf courses around ponds that maintain the soil to keep it from eroding into the pond. So we proposed that that's what happens, and establish a visually pleasant water feature that supports wildlife, birds, mosquitoes, and dragonflies, because they eat mosquitoes. So I know. You've got my humor, right? Okay, so long term, we are proposing that you create a wildlife sanctuary by planting other plants for butterflies, etc. So that's what the proposal is. That's my bunting. Okay, so at this point, the slope is eroding from constant mowing, unsightly entrance. We haven't seen any birds. A couple of cormorants are out there, but when I first moved here 2 years ago, there were quite a few birds around, but I haven't seen any in 6 months besides the cormorants, and they're just drying their wings off. So the culvert up at the very top is also eroding quite a bit. So stop mowing and weed eating, and Keister has done that. They were actually tumbling into the water because as they were weed eating, that slope is so drastic, they just fell in. So they didn't mind not mowing and weed eating anymore. Repair the culvert, reduce the erosion by planting grasses, plant butterfly, hummingbird plants to establish a pretty water feature at the entrance of Westminster Oaks. In summary, the holding pond should reduce groundskeeping requirements, avoid costly regular holding pond cleaning. You know, you see that guy down in there. He's got his boat, pulls it in and cleans out the pond. Create a natural pond edge with appropriate Florida grasses, and also plant other plants that provide a place for butterflies and hummingbirds to come to the pond. And it'd be gorgeous when you come in and you look to the right and there are all these wildflowers and blooming. So, okay, so the motion is we propose the Residents' Council requests the Westminster Oaks administration to adopt a long-term wildlife preservation and beautification plan to stabilize the holding pond's erosion with appropriate Florida grasses, which will also provide a wildlife sanctuary for birds, butterflies, and mosquito-eating dragonflies. We further propose that wildflower seeds and plants that will attract nesting and migrating birds, butterflies, and mosquito-eating dragonflies be introduced as part of the long-term beautification and wildlife preservation plan of the pond.
Can we hold that a minute, please, Sonny? Do we have a motion by the council? Do we have a second? Okay. Discussion from the audience. We need a mic runner.
I can be loud. I just wanted to say that there is a second pond at the bottom of Diplomacy Circle that could be treated likewise, and I would certainly suggest that that be done.
Right now, the proposal is for one pond before we look at the second one.
Would the wire fences around both ponds be removed?
No. That's a safety feature.
I'm wondering what's going to happen. I'm wondering what. Okay. I'm wondering what's going to happen to the water feature that's already there, the fountain. Will that remain?
The fountain would remain there. We're just talking about grasses and plants around the pond. So it's actually the slope of the pond. It has nothing to do with the water feature that's in there now that aerates the pond. No.
Other questions from the audience? One in the back and one.
When you talk about encouraging wildlife, are you thinking about bringing in those ducks and that have ruined Lake Ella? You know, and it won't be very pleasant around there if ducks and geese take up residency.
Those are Muscovy ducks, and they like flat areas, and they really don't swim a lot, but they poop a lot. I understand. We do see geese in there sometimes, but, you know, people aren't going to be walking around that pond, we hope. So it'll be fine. Muscovies will not be attracted to that particular pond.
Good morning. What's the proposed cost for this, please, ma'am?
At the time, we're not sure. Tim Osborne, the maintenance department director, is working on that proposal now. It's the administration. We're proposing that the Westminster Oaks administration pay for it.
Gail Halperin. I live at Azalea Gardens, and while on the subject of plant life, between Azalea and the rest of the center is like a little forest. And I sometimes think that how nice it would be if it weren't mowed and just allow the plants to grow, because some of the trees are older and it would give a chance for new life. I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea from an ecological point of view or a practical point of view, but it's just a thought. to put out there now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gail. That would be, should come up to the grounds committee. And we have a meeting Wednesday, I think, Thursday at 2:00 in the crafts room.
Hi, I'm Mary Sadler. Next to the pond where that nature walk is full of invasive species, especially coral ardesia. If you don't mow or take a lot of effort to do that, it's going to come into the area. I love the idea of not mowing. I'm just worried that it's going to be more of a problem than we anticipate.
The only way to get rid of the ardesia is to pull it up and get rid of the berries, and you can't, so mowing doesn't really make any difference for that particular plant.
Okay.
John Tomberlin. I live at Timber Lane. There is a major capital project expenditure is going to be required to correct the erosion at the far end of the pond. It will require heavy machinery to get in there and correct that. That needs to be figured in on your timing to start your project. I don't know when this capital project is scheduled, but it's been that way for 5 years.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, that's on the capital budget, I believe, going forward. They're looking at some alternatives to reduce that erosion because the pond is filling and it hasn't been dredged in 20-something years that we're aware of. Any other questions from the audience? Questions from the board or comments? Ms. Beverly, you got a mic?
I just have a technical problem with the motion because the motion doesn't address what we're all talking about, and especially the specifics of the pond that we're talking about. And I'm just worried that this is all, they'll go, oh, wow, this is a wonderful idea. We'll do that, and then they'll put it in their filing cabinet, and that'll be it. Because we're not requesting them to do anything specific or measurable. So I think we should reword or have the motion reworded to be very specific, and we can mention that, wouldn't it be nice, but what we need to do is say we would like this, this, and this done, which you listed on like the third previous slide, so that we can measure that they've done it. They agree to it, and then they do it. But if we do this, they'll just say, oh, that's very nice, thank you. So I don't know the process if that's doable.
Tegan is going to pull up that slide, I think, that you're talking about, Beverly, so when she gets to it, stop her.
Right. It's this one, I think, isn't it? Yeah. And then, you'll mention the problems. You've already written that nice report, so this is sort of like that, which you all haven't seen, but I just think it needs to be a different motion. So I don't know how that happens, if anybody's agreement.
Any other comments?
Do you want to propose an amendment to make it clear that we're talking about the Hollow Oak holding pond? Is that? Oh.
There's a motion on the floor.
So you withdraw the motion?
Well, instead of saying to stabilize the holding ponds, to stabilize the holding pond at Hollow Oak Circle. And that would be my amendment.
There is a motion on the floor. It's right there.
Again, I just say that that's not specific enough for me to be measurable, just to say, to fix the problem.
Okay, I think what we should do now, we'll table this, ask the committee to redo the proposal and streamline it so that it is. Any exception to that?
Well, I mean, I did write a second motion that I would suggest.
Okay.
And the motion I suggested was that the resident council proposes that as a trial for the long-term wildlife preservation and beautification of the holding ponds at Westminster Oaks, the administration, one, stop mowing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I guess, stop mowing and weed eating around the edge of the Hollow Oaks holding pond from the low water mark 6 feet. And two, plant spread grass seeds along this area. I didn't know about all of these at the time. So we could just put those suggestions and then send the background document along with the motion to administration. So the substitute motion I just read. The Residents' Council proposes that as a trial for the long-term wildlife preservation and beautification of the holding ponds at Westminster Oaks, the administration do these.
Okay, I think what I'm gonna continue to say to table this and for it to be rewritten, and we can take care of it going forward. Any questions?
I'd just like to make a quick comment about the terminology of water feature. I believe the intention was that this whole project be a pleasant water feature, but there was someone who commented that they thought that meant an additional sort of spray thing or whatever. So it maybe not using that term water feature would be helpful.
Okay, anyway, I think, let's rewrite it and bring it back up. Okay.
I move that it be tabled.
Second? Okay, Sandra? Any discussion on the tabling by the board? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion is tabled until we get the bugs worked out of it. Thank you, Ms. Sunny. Okay, Mr. Everett?
And I too will have to see what's up there. Okay, we have lots of new people, and I'm not sure that everyone knows that we have support groups. There's any number of support groups here. Parkinson's, low vision, and I want to talk about the dementia, Alzheimer's support group. And start out with what is a support group. And as you can see, it's a group of people that gets together to support each other in whatever topic that they're concerned with. The one at Westminster Oaks is supported by and sponsored by the Alzheimer's Project. And that's the one I want to talk about today, the dementia and Alzheimer's. As the First Lady, Rosalind Carter, said, you can read it, there's only 4 kinds of people in the world. And those that who have been, are currently, or will be, you will be carried for. So everybody is involved in this. Just a little side, these, you can see some of the reasons we have dementia. As we age, our brain shrinks. So everybody here at Westminster has a form of dementia. It's just different progressions of it. As you can see, this is what happens in your brain. And I have a whole presentation on that for about an hour, so I will not go into that today. Why should you join a support group? Come on. The main reason you join is to take care of yourself. You cannot take care of your spouse or your loved one if you're sick or not there. So it's very important that you take care of yourself. That's the first thing we talk about when someone joins our group. And the other reason is you get support from the group. That's why you go there. It's interesting that we have a social worker from the project that comes to help us out, and she rarely says anything. But the support group helps each other because they've all had similar problems at one time or another. And so another reason you should join a support group, overall, nationwide, 19% of the caregivers, because of the stress and whatever, die before the person they're caring for. And even worse, if you're a caregiver 70 years old or older, 63% die before the person they're caring for. So it's obvious you need to take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved ones. And I'm particularly interested in talking to the couples here today. It is sobering to think about that something like 85% of the people who live at Westminster go to bed at night by themselves. So I want to talk to the couples. You're still lucky you have each other. And so you got to consider one of you is going to take care of the other one sooner or later. So we invite you to join our support group. On the back, on the music stands, is a brochure that we have that talks about this support group. Please take some of these. Give them to your friends or whatever, and help them. Caregivers Support Group meets the second and fourth Friday of each month at 10 o'clock in the lower level theater. Please come and join us. You will benefit greatly by it. And you take the brochures, you have friends and all. I know it's a little awkward sometimes to say, here, you need this. But help your friends out. And so I'll give you some good news. The good news of what I say is we got a lot of people in the group. The bad news is they need to be there. Thank you very much.
Well, as Everett said, we have lots of support groups, and it's not a downer. We're here to take care of each other. And so just think about it, as with the Sparklers and other groups, if you're not familiar with it, at least entertain the idea to check them out and find out what it is about. We live in a continuing life care community, so there are things going on for progression, but we know we need to take care of each other, both in our families and here as a community in Westminster. We've had a couple of incidents lately that, pardon?
It's important to know that the support group is open to outsiders, not just residents of Westminster. I have offered this to people whose family are in the health center who are not members or residents here at Westminster, and so it is open to others too.
Thank you, Mary Jane. We've had a couple of instances lately about people trying to get things done on the weekend, and we just want to close the loop. This is in the residence handbook, which unfortunately is still being revised, but any medical emergency, any time of day or night, 911 is the first call. Then your call button. Keep the 911 line open while you're talking to them. Don't talk to your neighbor. Don't call your cousin in North Carolina or wherever to find out if you're having a stroke or a heart attack. And don't try to get yourself to the emergency room. 911 will arrive with the tools they need to keep you in that golden hour. And en route, they're already making arrangements for you to be received at the emergency room with the appropriate help you need. If you try to do it that yourself or through your neighbor, you're burning time that's not going to be available. Please think about that. 911 is always the first call. The second one is, at nights and on weekends, yes, there are staff people on duty here, but they're only on duty during duty hours. They don't stay overnight. And so when the sun goes down on Saturday and Sunday, they're not here. But however, security and maintenance is on call. So the 509-4993 is the primary number to get a hold of security for anything. If they don't get an answer there, use your pennant or the pull cord in your bathroom to get a response from them, because they're often not in their office. And if they are downstairs in their office, the cell phone receiving down there is not very good. So the best response is to use your pull cord. They can get hold of the maintenance person that's on call to get them in here to evaluate your situation, or they can directly contact some contractors that are like on retainer to come and take care of the issue. So please think about these things. When one, is it an emergency or is it something that can wait till Monday? If it is an emergency, call the 509 number and use your pull cord. I'll leave this up after the meeting, and if you have questions, please see me. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, the button.
Yeah. I don't think I made that mistake. The transcription. Any comments from the audience? Ms. Shannon is not here this morning, and Miss Vicki is still on spring break. Jay.
I want to mention a PS to what you have just said about calling EMS and so on. When my partner was under the care of Big Ben Hospice, and I had to be with him at a certain point in time in order to make sure he wasn't damaging himself even more. I simply pulled the cord in the bathroom, called our security and said, I need you to come unlock the door and turn the lights on because the hospice nurse will be here shortly, and that would help. So it's a combination of assistance that you can get, especially toward the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eleanor. Any other comments from the audience? From the board? None? The only comment I've got in closing is our next meeting is on tax day, April the 15th, a Monday. So make that on your calendar unless, I guess, the Boston Marathon or something interferes with it. Anything from the board? Hearing none, I think we're adjourned on time. Thank you.